What's going on, guys? Austin here from Corruptcarbonworks again. Figured I'd make a video. It's March 2nd, and I was thinking about waiting, but we're going to make a video now about the Jekyll and Hyde. Alright, guys, this is a full revamp of this chassis. This chassis was released a couple years ago with a lot of ingenuity kind of waiting for it. Or designing, I guess you can say, and then kind of got stomped on in the scale comp side by rules and regulations. But with all that behind us, it is now legal again. So we've been working on a full revamp. Everyone has absolutely loved it since the beginning. It is one of the chassis that it literally changed the rules in Sorka. So I'm glad to bring it back. I'm glad to be working on it again. I had so many ideas for this chassis back in the day, and to watch it being crushed by, certain people or things that just happened down the line, not a big deal now, but it is back. So I'm going to give you a sneak peek of my prototype. We've got 5, maybe 6 prototypes out and about or being shipped now to our team drivers. So if you've got some team drivers that are local to you guys, send them a message, chat with them, see if they've got one coming or if they're going to be building one. So you might actually see one at a comp near you shortly. So let me get the other camera set up and I'll give you a little bird's eye view of what mine looks like. Alright, guys, here we are. So the full revamp of the Jekyll and Hyde. There you go. So now everybody has kind of seen some of the teaser shots. Notice that it is a longer or more forward based chassis, and that it is. But the greatest part about the Jekyll and Hyde, guys, if you hear something, construction is going on. So sorry, I tried to wait to the end of the day, but they are still here. But back to this. The best part about the Jekyll and Hyde is it was always adjustable for wheelbase, for height, chassis height, anything like that. But mainly adjustable for wheelbase. So the rears can be adjusted in or out for your wheelbase. The same with the front, adjusted in or out for the wheelbase. So the whole chassis piece can be adjusted, even up and down some. But mainly for your wheelbase, okay? Obviously, you can see the long stretch for the rear, short for the front. This is at its most compact form here, guys. So the front is pushed in to the center of the skid as far as it possibly can go. Hopefully, we can get you a little bit better light there. There we go. As you can see by that little notch, it is made to run our Ninja and Katana transmission, along with the T-case gears, but it does have a full revamp of the T-case. You guys can see that higher output for the rear dry shaft, which allows us to have that clearance that we need here for the beautiful deluxe dry shaft coming down. Transmission is still up front like typical. Guys, this just has a piece of Kydex on it that I bent. I thought I was going to mount something up there, but I really didn't. But you can see underneath that it does have our transmission. It is a stubby setup. So you will need to run something small like a black jacket, Holmes revolver, yellow jacket, anything like that. This is the new black jacket from Three Brothers. It works in there absolutely flawlessly and perfect. So that was beautiful. Guys, this is a extremely narrow setup in the front. And when I mean extremely, none of the deluxe, exo, anybody's dry shafts can be short enough to make it from the transmission to the T-case in its most compact form. So it is very, very tight up in the front. We did find some parts that work. They will be listed when the chassis is available, possibly even come in the kit. But we are using them as of right now for prototyping and testing. And if it all goes well, then that's when they'll be added when the chassis is released. let's see, typical CMS setup here from what you see in the Ninjas, Katanas, anything like that. Low Pro servo. Obviously this was our Nitro Pro, our V2. Little micro servo winch in the center. This is a 550 3S battery, long pack up front. Worked perfect. My ESC of choice right now is the Castle Micro V2, or I think X2 V2 or something like that. I just decased it here, and then I actually fit it right on the skid between the chassis rails and the T-case. So that worked out extremely well. It is extremely tight, but nothing rubs, nothing hits. It's a really nice compact setup. You guys can see I obviously shortened all the wires. My receiver runs right here on the inside of my shock hoop, which is nice. And guys, with this setup, as always, the Jekyll and Hyde has always been a full builder's chassis, okay? So this was a 70 millimeter CMS. It needs to be cut because this chassis bolted to the inside of the center is actually less than 70. So take 6 out of that, obviously, and that's going to give you your 64 millimeter up front. Inside, well, yeah, well, actually a little less than that. But other than that, we will have to shorten this. We obviously run the shock hoops on the inside and the rear, and what this does is it gives you your front and your rear more inside, obviously pinch, so it allows your shocks to give you more of your angle. More narrow in the front, more narrow in the rear is always good. It gives you better adjustability for more steering, more clearance for all those things. So we wanted to gear that towards being able to bolt everything inside the two center pieces for obviously being more narrow in the front, more adjustability, more clearance, more everything. So this one is built on F10s, guys. You can see the full clearance of the rear here. They are single bins. They run absolutely perfect with the dry shafts. And if you guys are looking at it and you're thinking, well, I don't know, that's not a whole lot of clearance, it is very deceiving, guys. This, when sitting at ride height like it is, the peak of this, of our links right here, between skid and this peak, there's over 4 inches from the bow. My hand does not even touch. So it is an absolute breakover monster. So that is a great thing and what people have been asking for. We have our typical 12 degrees that you've come to love from Corruptcarbonworks. Massive amounts of clearance, and then this runs right with the dry shaft all the way down perfectly. So I have not had any problems with anything getting stuck on breakovers or such. This is a very, very short length between basically the front tire tread to where you still have that height of that tire down here to here. And it's pretty much, if you get your tires on it, the breakover is already at its point. So it is incredibly short between front peak of the skid to tire tread. And like I said, I have yet to meet anything that it has not tackled very easily at that. Guys, this is going to be an awesome setup. It's going to be a killer setup for everyone. It still has its 26% underdrive to the rear. It still has its obviously smooth belly, no holes. Very, very tight, compact, but yet butter smooth front. And obviously rear on everything. But guys, this is going to be an awesome, awesome truck. This is what you guys have been asking for. We're going to bring it to you. And then styles later on down the road will come available. Different front, maybe that if you don't want to run the Ninja front. Obviously, the rear could be flipped upside down if you wanted to run it that way. We're to do them right now. The tests, the prototypes are in G10 on the front and the rear and carbon in the center. More obviously, we're definitely going to do all carbon. We might even do all G10, just to maybe possibly lower that price point for people to be able to get in and drive one of these and comp with it, and not be sometimes the high end price point. So we're bringing you the best we possibly can, and I think we have definitely done it with this chassis. 4mm titanium links. We're going to give you the length of these. You're going to be able to order those from the website when the chassis is available, just because some people might want a longer or shorter wheelbase. So you'll be able to pick the length that you might want for that. Like I said, built on F10s. Absolutely love it so far. It is an absolute monster. So with that, let me get you back to the other camera. All right, guys, so a little touching of, I guess, the Jekyll and Hyde. So there it is on the big camera. You guys can see it. It is an absolute monster of a rig. It is so compact. It is so forward weight biased. It is still so planted in the rear, and it has clearance for days. So get ready. Get with your local team drivers. See if they're building one so you can see one shortly. And hopefully you'll see them out at the comps near you in testing. With that, like and subscribe, guys. Always thank you for the love and support. And we will see you on the next one.